This is Complex Conversations, the collision of design, retail, and fashion, featuring Complex News editor and her host, Jinx, apparel designer, sneaker world legend, and founder of renowned clothing store, Kith, Ronnie Fieg, and his collaborators in the legendary Kith flagship store design, the founders of Snarkitecture, Alex Mustonen and Daniel Arsham. You're invited to the conversation.
So first, let's talk about Snarkitecture. Can you give us a little bit about the background of the inception of your company and how you guys started on the path that you were on?
Sure. Daniel and I met in school. We went to school in New York called Cooper Union. And I went to the architecture school there, and Daniel went to the art school. And after graduating in 2008, we decided to establish a practice called Snarkitecture. The goal of the practice is to operate between the disciplines of art and architecture. So we're taking each of our respective backgrounds and operating in that kind of blurred territory between them.
For a lot of people, I think architecture is a very sort of obtuse thing. It's something that, it feels like it's very sort of academic. And I've always found by reducing materials, by reducing things down to a kind of more simple form, it opens the architecture up to a lot of different people, and in some ways it makes it more accessible, right? And we've taken that approach with all of the projects that we've done for Ronnie and in our own practice as well.
Right. So I'd say this is a good example, this idea about making architecture accessible, making it engaging. We did a project that's downstairs for ComplexCon. That's the sort of central seating moment in the fair.
All the pillows.
In the show. So yeah, pillow fort.
Go make a pillow fort.
Right, the idea is like make something that you can actually engage with and touch, and in the case of the project downstairs, actually physically rearrange and shape into your own environment.
And trust me, people needed it on a day like today.
Yeah. And we'll bring up some slides and we'll show you guys some previous work. This is one of the first retail projects we ever did. This was a pop-up store for a designer called Richard Chai. And the idea here was that there was a space that was carved from a solid material. So we started with a solid block and excavated the space, excavated the program, like the display for the clothing, display for footwear, et cetera.
And part of the thing that we've always tried to do with Snarkitecture is to create a kind of reduction of materials. And this is present in projects that we've done like this, which are more conceptual, as well as in some retail projects that we've done with Ronnie, where the materials in the locations are kind of reduced down to a limited palette. This was another project that we did for a store called Odin in New York, which was for their perfume line. And it was really about reducing the space down to this kind of very simple form and really just replicating the original item, creating this kind of landscape within the space.
An all white on white space where the only sort of real thing is the product. This was a public art project we did in Miami. It takes those letters from this is the Miami Orange Bowl. We took those letters and reimagined them at their original scale, their original color, but made from reinforced concrete and scattered across this plaza. So they no longer say Miami Orange Bowl, but they create a series of new meanings as you approach the stadium. Another major goal of the practice is to make architecture perform the unexpected. So creating these unexpected and memorable environments. We've done a lot of projects with fashion, and in some ways fashion was sort of our avenue, I think, to retail. This was a project with Public School for their runway show a couple seasons ago.
People have often asked us, how or why we're so involved in this kind of fashion sphere, and part of it is that they were friends that we're working with, right? Public School, known them for years. So Ronnie and I met when Kith was really just the sneaker room and the boot room behind Atrium. Yeah. Which doesn't seem like that long ago, and was talking about the expansion of the store, and he was really interested in thinking about not just what was in the store, but the experience of how you move through it, and we've managed to create this space that is more about experience than it is about going in to buy something, right?
Yeah, I felt like there was a void in the marketplace, and it was a void for me as a consumer. You shop these stores, and I felt like all of these retailers were just squeezing the juice out of the consumer without giving anything back. The thought was to give an experience where people can actually just show up. What are you doing on a Saturday? Oh, I'm gonna go buy Kith, instead of it being like, I need a pair of shoes, or I need a top. It's more so for people to come in and just have a vibe in the space. So, I wanted to find someone who hasn't had too much experience so that they can, offer an opinion from a different perspective,
Like you said, it is an experience. I think about being a younger consumer, whether it was trading stories with kids online, not online, on the actual line. It's a real thing. Or yeah, like you said, the actual shopping experience. But I also think it's like the feeling you get, but also, architecture, fine art gives you that same thing. But in a retail space, it's much more accessible.
Yeah, and that's where Daniel and I and Alex too, we sat down in a room and really thought outside the box about everything that we did for the first shop. It really is that type of mindset where it's more so for the experience, and then the product it's kind of secondary to that.